please, for the love of everything, do this, do that, rub it out, get a massage, get cupping, get everything that you can. Please don't go through that. Like,
Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. Bellator 294, Liz Carmouche, flyweight title. What are the vibes like about going to Hawaii to fight?
oh man, I'm so excited to go to Hawaii. I've never been, so I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to go.
Exactly, right? Just the best way to enjoy like a vacation, work vacation, so to say.
It's a work trip that will be a vacation after I win the belt. So
Definitely,
we'll take
definitely.
that one.
Yeah, for sure. Thoughts on Carmouche and the skill set that she has?
She's a tough fighter. There's no doubting that she's tough. Like anyone that watched her last fight, like you liked it, you didn't like it, but you can't deny her skills. She's very talented, at everything, and she's tough no matter what. She's strong. She's been in this game for a really long time. She's got the fight IQ and everything for it, and that's what excites me about the fight is that she is tough. I want to test myself against the best that's out there. And sorry, I look like death right now. I keep looking at myself and I'm like, whew, I'm sorry. I'm like, is that what I look like right now? No wonder if people just think I'm crazy. But she's tough, and that's what I'm hoping she brings into the cage, honestly. I want it to be a tough fight because I know I have the skills to match and to beat that.
Are you the type to go back and then dive deep into your opponent's fights?
I watch them. I usually put that in the hands of my coaches, and my teammates have watched the fights too. I don't wanna focus on it because obviously you want to see their tendencies and kind of what they do, but you can't focus too much about what they did in the past. You can train for it and you can work on it, but it's not necessarily what she's gonna do when we get into there this time. And so, I let my coaches do the work. If they want me to see something, they'll show it to me. But I don't obsess about it. I'm not watching her fights every night to see what she does and to match her skill set and that kind of stuff. I'm focused on me first and foremost, and then obviously, to get the edge, there is, you watch tape. You want to be the best fighter you can be with that.
For sure. And the last two fights that Carmouche had were against the same opponent. So there's a lot of tape you could watch, you know what I mean? You don't have to watch it obsessively, but you watch it, you look at it as a body of work. And where do you feel like Velasquez made mistakes?
So I was actually at that last fight. It was in Connecticut, and I was like, this is the fight that I knew that I wanted before they even fought. It was something that I was campaigning hard for and had been wanting for so bad. So I made sure I was at that last fight when they fought. And I feel like I don't know necessarily that it was a mistake on Velasquez's part. Carmouche was coming out to make a point. They were saying there was controversy with the way that the first one went down, and Liz came out and she had a mission, and you could see it, like even in her walkout when she was walking down just to get into the cage. I was like, yeah, she's gonna win. She wants this, and I feel like Velasquez didn't necessarily believe the first one was a loss. The way that she talked about it was that it was like a ref's bad decision, and that she didn't really lose, and that she was beating her. And you can't have that mindset. In the end, it was a loss. She got the rematch with that, but I felt like she gave too much respect to that because she's like, oh well, I beat her before in this one, and so I'm just going to beat her the same way again. And you can't have that kind of mindset. You have to take it as each individual fight. Work on what went wrong and then come in there to show your best self. And so I feel like it almost came down to minds between the two. Obviously I'm not in their minds, but from an outside perspective, that's kind of what I took about it. Like, because Velasquez is an amazing fighter. She's so good. But I feel like Liz was coming to make a point, and she did.
Your first fight with Carmouche, right? The
Yes.
first round, very, very close round. Second round, arguably you dominated that round, except for the the heel hook. You outstruck her. That's very clear if you look at the numbers. What do you get from studying that fight?
I it's a fight that I think about a lot. It was both of our first fight in Bellator, and I have a wonderful scar on my leg right here that reminds me of that fight. Um, but it kind of I my coach after that fight, my coach at the time, we got back to the hospital and he's like, "Do you want the good news or the bad news?" And I was like, "Well, I'm pretty sure the bad news is that I'm on crutches and something is hurt in my hip, but I don't know." And I was like, "Okay, just tell I'll take any of the news." And he's like, "You were up on all the scorecards." So, according to the judges, I won the first round and I won the second round, and I feel like I was on my way to winning the fight when the injury happened. Um, but just like I said with the Velasquez and Carmouche first fight, still in the end, it was a loss. It was a loss for me, and I can't be like, obviously, like I feel like I was doing really well in the fight, but I can't be like, oh well, I was winning until something drastic happened, and so I'm gonna be the same person. Like, no, I can't be that same fighter when I get into the cage. I have to be different, and I feel like I did kind of prove myself a little bit of who I was as a fighter up until my hamstring did get injured. But I feel like I'm better than I even showed there. Going to the first one, Liz's last fight before me on that one was what's her name? Valentina Shevchenko. She went from fighting Valentina Shevchenko to fighting me, and then I'm like, oh, this is somebody who I've seen. She was part of the first female fight in the UFC. She was part of the first female fight when they did their first card in New York, and like she's somebody who is basically a legend in the sport and been around for a really, really long time. And so, you have that factor in there, and I feel like I do respect her as a fighter. But I feel like I gave her a little bit too much respect as far as her skills compared to mine. And that's something like I know I have the skills to be in there with her and to beat her. And I feel like I was a little tentative with things in that first one. And that's something that I've been working for over 2 years to adjust. I knew that I would be across the cage from her again. And I felt it in my soul or whatever soul I have, that it would be for that title because I knew that that's a goal that I set for mine. And so it's going to be a completely different fight than that first one. Because I'm coming to make a point and I hope more than anything she comes out just like she did in her last fight. Like I said, because I number one want to put on a show for everybody who tunes in for the fight, and I want to show what I'm capable of as a fighter. And I want to. I'm coming to win. I'm coming to make a point. I'm coming to win. I'm not going to be like, oh, I want to get that one back. Well, yeah, of course I do. No one likes losing, and no one wants to see that L in their record. But it's not something I'm hung up on. I'm focused on this fight, not what we did previously in the cage.
How was it fighting with that hamstring injury? Because man,
Awful. Um, that's honestly, it was the worst. And so the hamstring injury happened about 2 seconds before she jumped on my back. It was in the third round that it happened. It wasn't in the second round or anything. I know she tried to say, oh, she got hurt in the second round. I didn't. If you watch closely in the third round of that fight, about 2 seconds before she jumped on my back, I was switching my hips off of the cage and I felt a pop and I was like, oh. And if you watch the fight, I like to push the pace and move, but I stopped moving and I just stood there because I couldn't move my hips at all and I couldn't move anything. And then she hopped on my back and then I was like, I can't defend because I can't move my hips and this is just awful. And so that's, the fight ended there because I couldn't do what I needed to do to be able to defend the choke. And so, obviously, stuff happens in fights. I have one of my teammates. He's one of the smartest fighters that I know. And he's like, listen, you have to prepare for what you're going to do in the cage. You have to prepare for what your opponent's going to do in the cage, but you also have to prepare for the unknown, for the other variables, and the hamstring is one of those. And any type of injury can happen, and what happens with that You have to be prepared for things to happen. And I think about that all the time. Like, what if I had tried to do something else? What if I had tried to move a little bit more? Like, would I be able to make it the last 2 minutes of the fight? And would it have been a different situation? And, you know, there's a whole lot of what if, and you can't go back for that. I just know that, I'm preparing now. Like, if something happens along those lines, it was just like a freak accident. Like, it's nothing she did. It's nothing that necessarily I did. But we're, we prepare for everything. And I do not wish hamstring injuries on anyone. Anytime, like, I had a teammate yesterday that was like, oh man, I think I pulled my hamstring a little bit. And I was like, please, for the love of everything, do this, do that, rub it out, get a massage, get cupping, get everything that you can. Please don't go through that. Like, not even my worst enemy would I
Yeah.
ever want a hamstring avulsion or any type of hamstring injury to happen to them, because that is miserable. I do not like that.
What's the crew look like for you for this camp, this championship camp?
So I've been I live in the Philly area now. I was in Philly itself, but now I'm a little outskirts. And so I've been training at Marquez MMA. Currently at Team Taino. It's one of the other gyms that I train at with Eddie Torres, and actually my roommates train here too. That's one of them. He's over there. He's gonna be mad that I showed him. I don't really care. And so just with that string of people, there's a couple other little gyms like Webb Fitness. He's part of the Marquez MMA family. So we do our like sparring and main training there. And then I go to Webb for jujitsu, and it's just all of those guys. Like, I'm surrounded by such great fighters, and I have, a whole bunch of people that my whole team have been absolutely great, I have the guys that I've been training with since I got here about a year ago. Like, okay, we watched her fights and we saw what she does, and like, I didn't even ask them to, but they just took it upon themselves to watch tape and to be a better training partner for me. And so, I was obviously, you're like, oh, who can I bring in that could help me? Who can I do this? And I'm like, I didn't need to do that. Everybody from amateurs who have never fought before up until guys. We have guys that are in the UFC that have been helping me out. The whole range of people. Like, if you know anything about the guys that are here at Marquez MMA, they're amazing, and I couldn't ask for better training partners and everything. So that's my crew.
Yeah.
They're great. They put up with
Yeah.
me.
Philly's on the come up. It's like the next
Absolutely.
wave in a way. It's like the next wave in a way.
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
Um,
there's gonna be big things coming out of this gym when with people, even I even though his last fight didn't go the way that he wanted to, Sean Brady will be champion someday. I have no doubt. And then, we have fighting the same weekend as me. We have Jeremiah Wells. He's fighting on the 22nd. I fight on the 21st. Unfortunately, he knocked out and almost killed one of my friends in his last fight, and so that one hurt just a little bit. But thankfully, we're not fighting a friend this time, so we're good. But just everybody from top to bottom, and by top to bottom, I mean experience levels, because no one's better than anyone else in that aspect. But it's just a great room, and a great bunch of people. Like, they're family, and every day I'm grateful for them. And I have one of my main training partners. He'll be in the corner for my fight. He's been working with me wrestling jiu-jitsu. I probably bother him because every day I'm just like, I appreciate you, because he gets up at 5 a.m. and we go train multiple times a week at 6 a.m. And it's like, I just, a lot of people would not want to get up that early to go and do work, but I am trying to give myself the biggest edge I can in this fight, and putting all the work that I can. And so the fact that I have people that will sacrifice and get up that early to come and work with me, like, this is a great crew. And if anyone wants to come around and train, this is the place. Just saying. So
yeah. You had the first fight a few years ago. You guys are both much improved since that first fight. Do you see a skill gap anywhere in any aspect of fighting between you two?
um honestly, I feel like I have the edge on striking, and it's something that I've been working really hard with. I've been a wrestler. I wrestled in high school. That's my base. I love jujitsu. I do it multiple times a day. Um, and I love learning new stuff with that. I'm not content with just be like, oh, I'm good. I've been doing jujitsu for years. I'll just have to roll. Like, no, I'll take every opportunity I can to learn and to get better. But striking is something that I've really committed to, and I want to be able to showcase that. And I think that's where I have the edge over her. Obviously she's a very skilled grappler. I but I think we're very closely matched in everything, but I feel like my edge is the striking. So we'll obviously find out, but
Yeah, yeah. With that said, like, what do you want to show? Of course, you want to raise that belt over your head, but what do you want to show in this performance?
first and foremost, it's winning that belt and just showing that I'm a well-rounded fighter and that I have the skills to be at the top and to be a champion. I don't want to be like, ooh, so I'm gonna do this just because I've seen so many fights that they just kind of want to prove a point. Like, oh, I'm really good at this. Oh, they're good at this, so I'm better at that, so I'm gonna do it that way. I've seen a couple fights with Bellator that way. They fight like a really strong kickboxer, and instead of taking to the ground, they stay standing just to kind of prove a point. And it's like, why? I don't understand that. Like, MMA is every aspect of it. It's grappling, it's the stand up, it's everything. I just want to show that I've been doing this for years, but I'm still improving. I'm still working on myself. I'm still a competitor and here to do my best, whether it's it doesn't matter where it goes. I just want to show that I can compete everywhere and I have the skill set to be the champion.
One last thing before I let you go. The next night, which is crazy, the next night there's another Bellator event, and McFarlane is gonna fight Watanabe. It's a pretty exciting matchup right there. A clash in
I
styles,
think so.
some would say. Who do you see taking that one? Because that could determine the next person in line to fight for the belt as well.
Oh, absolutely. I have no doubt whoever wins that fight is going to be the next one to fight for the belt. And it's a tough one because obviously we have the former champion against Kana, and the only time Kana lost was to Liz, and and that was a what 15-second fight. So I don't feel like she didn't really get the opportunity to show her full skill set in that one. Like, I feel like she was almost just overwhelmed quickly. And given that you see that fight again, I don't think if those two ever met each other it would play out the same way. I think Kana is a lot better than she let herself be in that fight. And I mean that as a compliment. I don't know if that sounded snooty or anything, but I really meant that as a compliment because I think Kana is a great fighter. But I do think Kana has the edge in that fight. I feel like she's going to be able to pull off the win. Um, and then, I that's a fight that since she got signed to Bellator, that's one that I've been asking for over and over and over again. Like, and the reason I don't call people out because I'm like, oh, I know I can beat her. I'm like, no, I like to fight people that are tough. I'll say it over and over and over again. If I don't think it's a tough fight, I don't want it. Like, I want those tough fights. I want to be able to push myself, and I want to see somebody across the cage that's like I'm gonna go old school. That's a worthy adversary that I can test my might to, and that's I see Kana with that one, and I'm gonna be sitting there anxiously watching that. So
Yeah, it's exciting times in that flyweight division right now. There's a lot of good matchups
absolutely.
in the future, no matter what happens in Hawaii. April 21st, Bellator 294 main event flyweight title is on the line. Go into descriptions, download the AllStar app. Deanna, thank you so much. Vitamin D,
Yes,
you're gonna
thank
get
you.
plenty of that right in
Yes.
Hawaii.
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait. Today was actually a relatively nice day in Philly, but the weather's been like all across the board. And I'm like, I am so over this cold weather. Like, I
Mm,
need to be on a beach. I need sun. I need the vitamin D.
mm.
Like, look at this pasty skin. This is the pastiest I've ever been. Like, I need color, guys. Like, I promise I'm Hispanic, but it definitely does not look like it right now. So I'm like, what has Philly done to me? I need color.